You're listening to Being Built. I'm Aaron Davis. I'm the founder of Reliant Search Group and the host. I'm here with Jackie Gamblin. And Jackie, you are the founder and the leader of JYG Innovations.
That's correct.
And I'm glad you're here with me.
I'm happy to be here.
You're one of those folks, I was just talking to my wife about this kind of personality that you have an immediate, you immediately feel disarmed. And I felt like as soon as I met you, it was in DC.
Wow.
Somebody said, you should talk to Jackie. And I introduced myself. And as soon as I met you, I thought, that's an easy friend, So you got a really disarming way about you.
Oh, that's good.
It was a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you a few times since then. So welcome to the show. So how long ago did you found the company?
We're actually going to be celebrating our 15th anniversary this year.
Wow,
so
nice.
It's kind of hard to believe, you look at it and going, wow, time just flies by. So yeah, I'm really excited.
15
years. 15 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really cool. How many more years are you going to put in? Another decade or two?
Not quite that much. No. Probably not. I'm in that 5 to 10 scenario. Probably leaning more in the 5, but I'm open to the 10. And
right.
I mean, as long as I'm having a good time and feel like I'm bringing value and excited to wake up in the morning and get to it. I mean, that's kind of my barometer.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm under 5 still, and it's
going to go fast.
Yeah, it's funny how in ways it feels like I just started, even though I'm like year 5 or whatever.
Right.
Feels like I'm brand new company. I'm not,
I think it's because we're always evolving.
True.
I mean, it's almost like you're reinventing yourself. So
True.
And that's what keeps it fresh. I was talking to my team and, we just look around, whether it's organizational structure, whether it's, where you're focusing your services, personalities, new energy, new blood, new customers. There's always something changing that I feel like sometimes helps you evolve as a company. So you're always trying to hang on to that, what makes you special, but at the same time adapt so you can be sustainable and, stable. So that's always the...
What's the new thing for you today that would be hard to expect or would make you feel very different than what you were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Oh, gosh. I think all of us are dealing with the hybrid work environment.
True.
That's one that I don't think anyone anticipated. Being in the IT industry, it's one we'd always hoped people would embrace.
Right.
I mean, for years, it's always been, hey, I could do this from other locations. But, the traditional office environment was, hey, you're sitting at your desk, you're sitting in your cube, and so somebody can look at you and know that you're working.
Yeah.
So that adjustment, it's a good adjustment. I mean, I'm a believer in quality of life, so I'm excited about it, and really it's just trying to balance it so you're making sure you're keeping the productivity from your employees, but also giving them that balance and that quality of life that they can do other things to bring their best selves to work.
Yeah, I love that.
That's how I look at it. Yeah. So if I can take the kids to the soccer game, or I need to go to the dentist appointment and still be flexible in my hours or where I'm working from.
That's right.
I mean, that's a win-win for everybody.
I've got a guy who works for me who lives in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to look over his shoulder.
Exactly.
And we could do, I don't even track his time. To be honest. I don't care.
Right.
And when I think about his work, I think about the product that he puts out.
Exactly.
And would it cost me this or that to do it elsewhere or something,
right?
Like, it's really easy for me to see that's valuable, right? There's great value being captured and delivered there. And so when I think about the level at which I want to scrutinize somebody, I think that whole remote thing has forced leaders to actually measure the outcomes that they want. Like, what do you want somebody to do, to produce?
Right.
What's the outcome you want them to produce, right?
Right.
And if you think about it like that, somebody who's twice as productive and works 30 hours, or somebody who's half as productive and works 60, takes on a whole different perspective.
It sure does.
Unless you're billing for hours.
No, but it puts responsibility. You really have to think about, like you said, what is it you really want them to do, and how you're going to measure it, and how you're really going to communicate expectations, right? Because it used to be they showed up, right? Oh, check. And now it's like, is that really something to get extra credit for, that they're here? As you said, if they're not productive,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love it. I mean, I still like hybrid versus fully remote, unless it's just necessary, because I think it's important to collaborate. You know, I
Yeah.
think, you know, we get energy from other people, ideas. You know, I just think we're a better company when people can really get together and even fellowship. Sometimes it's just social.
That's right.
So, you know, that's what we do with our team, you know, our back office team, especially, you know, HR, contracts, you know, those people. It's like, I know you probably could do it from somewhere else 100%, but I just think, you know, we're missing something when we're not in here, you know, communicating, and everybody agreed. So that's why the hybrid, you know, really was a good solution for us.
You know, like I 100% believe in working together, and I 100% believe in remote work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not really like a half and half
Right.
view on that. I
Yeah.
actually believe wholeheartedly in both. So I guess the hybrid thing makes sense. My team's all remote, but they're mostly local for that
Right.
reason, though. I
Right.
like to be able to. We get together every week, and
Sure.
I'd love to be able to actually. I mean, knowing each, like we were just talking about getting our families together.
Sure.
And
Sure.
being able to build, you know, adjacent or ancillary kind of connections with people that's not all work.
Right.
It's a little exhausting sometimes to just be all transactions all the time with everybody you work
it
with.
is.
You don't have to be your coworker's best friends,
Sure,
but like,
there's a connection.
some
I mean,
level.
yeah. I met with a gentleman, and he consults for me now.
okay.
But we were kind of reminiscing, like, when did we start working together? Because we used to work for the same company years ago, and we came up with it. It was like 1997, and I remember my daughter's turning 30. And she was in a kiddie pool, you know, those plastic pools in the backyard, you know, because I mean,
They're not just for kids.
back then they were, yeah.
Right.
But no, I mean, you know, and just time flies, and you just think
Yeah.
about the relationship, how, because, you know, we've both worked for several companies since then, done a lot of things, but it's like, you know, you just look at it and said, no, but there's a connection, and
Yeah.
and I get the 100% remote. I guess my question would be, I think for me the hybrid is if you work together at some point together, and then you go remote, you miss that connection. You know,
Yeah, I do. I really love working in the same space with people. When I think about some of my best years of work, I picture those handful of people I did most of my work with and us being in the same room together. I don't
Right.
picture me punching my computer,
Exactly.
right? Or having a one-on-one. I
Right.
picture those little collab sessions with
Yeah.
that small, you know, 5-person, 4-person group. We were high impact.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And
Right.
some of it is just like processing stuff in real time together.
Yeah, the brainstorming.
Yeah.
That's you know, hey, just taking those mental health breaks, whether you're, you know, talking about your families or, you know, it just all weaves together.
We used to take walks. You know, you'd leave the
wow.
office.
Yeah.
And just to shake up the space
Sure.
that your head's in, and talk with somebody one-on-one or whatever. I used to do most of my one-on-one, and I say we because a couple other
Sure.
guys were in that habit too. Would do most of our one-on-ones while we were walking.
Oh, I might steal that.
It makes it less formal. It's not like you're in, you know, less significant in conversation. You're
Right.
just in a different context. Yeah, and it provokes you to think a little bit different.
No, that makes
Feels
sense.
more casual.
Yeah, I like that.
But you can't do that if you're. Let's take a remote walk.
Right.
Let's share this whiteboard online or whatever. Like I want to see the way your body squirms when you say
Yeah.
stuff. You know, like, and I guess some people rely on reading body language more than others, but I've always been very
Yes.
attentive to that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's nice to be able to get a couple hours work done before I even put clothes on. I'm wearing gym shorts
Just
or
the top
whatever.
half. The top half, right?
I used to run. I was a executive at this small company, and I think I was working. I must have been working from home. I was mostly in the office in that company, but I must have been working from home this day. And as kind of a joke, I did a meeting with everybody, and I was wearing a sports coat,
Okay.
or dress shirt, something that looked businessy or whatever. But I actually had on gym shorts. I had thrown that on for the meeting. So I took a picture of myself and shared it with everybody that was in the meeting. Just FYI. I might have seemed more serious than I was.
Right. No.
But, I mean, it is nice to not. I mean, I'm joking, but it is nice to not have to, sweat the logistics of going to work. Not have
Absolutely.
to dress and commute and all that kind of stuff. It is demanding of attention.
And I think, you know, I can say with some customers who, you know, that I met with in person, and then we had to go, especially during the pandemic, remote. You know, it is disarming, right? Because if I'm sitting in my pajama pants and my suit jacket, I'm not as stiff as I would be if I was in my full suit sitting in the office at a
True.
conference
Yeah, that's a
table,
good
right?
point.
You don't even know it, but there's a shift in how you approach the meeting. So I found that helpful, and I was like, oh, this person, I don't know, they seem a little warmer, they seem a little
Interesting.
friendlier, and I think it's that dynamic of, hey, you know what, I'm sitting in my living room, or
Yeah.
I'm at home, or I know the kids are next door,
That's
you know,
right.
playing, so I just have a little more laid back demeanor
Yeah.
than I would if I was, like I said, sitting in that conference room table at the head of the table in my full suit and tie or whatever
That's right.
it is. Yeah.
You just met my 7-year-old, and
Yes.
that little dude loves to, ear hustle my meetings and stuff. He's pretty good at knowing when I'm in a meeting and
Yeah.
when I need to focus or whatever. But sometimes he'll come in and he has a way of like kind of asking permission.
Sure.
He'll just kind of come in and like, am I interrupting or
Right.
whatever? And I'll say, what's up, buddy? And if I'm depending on who I'm with
Sure.
or whatever, I might let him sit on my lap or
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
a question. And I used to like be embarrassed by that. Like, oh, I don't have children or
Right,
pets or a
right.
life. I don't even care anymore.
No.
Unless it's like distracting my train of thought
Right.
and we're working on something important.
It makes us
matter at all.
embrace the whole person.
Yeah,
You
that's-
know, we've always forced people to kind of only give a part of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, we want you 100% of you when we think it's productive for work, but we think we only
Yeah.
really want to know 25% of you, you know, and it's like they're a whole person.
True.
You know, so their families or their hobbies or their interests, it's all there, whether they share it or not.
I believe in blending all those things and getting all interwoven and stuff. But I also really believe in focus.
Yes.
That it's
yes.
a little underappreciated. That like
Well, you have to know
getting in the zone
yourself. I mean, I had someone who worked on a project at a military installation, and they were allowed to go remote, but they were like, you know what? I can't focus. Mm-hmm. I need to come in.
Yeah.
You know, and I said that is so impressive that you were able to recognize that right before you're getting in trouble. Just saying no. I need to be in. I'm a different person. I need to focus and I had a very meticulous job, and it made sense that you starting and stopping or distractions, would make you less productive. So I think it's just giving people permission to really express what works for them.
That's right.
Yeah, that
exactly
makes a
right.
difference.
Treat adults with adult responsibility, right?
Imagine that, right?
I think about that with like raising my kids. Like the sooner I can make them responsible,
Yeah.
the better. And I'm not trying to hurry them out of the house or anything,
Right.
because most of my kids lived with me in their young adult years, a couple years, and that's good. But on the other hand, like I've never had a problem with them being completely responsible for, like at 10 years old,
Sure.
I shouldn't be informing you what's going on
Right.
at school. You should be informing me.
Right.
I've always had that kind of attitude.
absolutely.
That like,
Absolutely.
you should be telling me how I can support you and owning responsibility for producing, great schoolwork. Or whatever,
Yeah.
Right? But I think that way with my kids. Why in the world would I come to the office and tell a 40-year-old
Right.
when and where to show up and what bathroom to get out of here?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Like, this is the mission. Let's get it. So anyway. Speaking of customers, you mentioned
Yes.
your customers. Who are your customers? Like, what kind of work do you guys do for who?
We're mainly focused in the defense industry, so Department of Defense or federal agencies.
Okay.
And we're involved with everything for the full IT software development lifecycle. So whether
Nice.
they're defining requirements, whether they're actually developing a solution, deploying a solution, and in deployment and development, that's testing. That's cybersecurity. All those things come into play to actually support, weapon systems, HR systems, logistics systems. So it's really whatever the mission or need or functionality that they're looking for, for a particular customer.
Okay.
We try to be the go-to.
And you guys do custom work, all custom work?
It depends. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of it because it's in the DoD sector. I mean, they use commercial off-the-shelf products or
Okay.
COTS products.
Yep.
But a lot of them require some customization, tailoring, to meet their specific requirements, of
Okay.
the defense sector.
Sometimes it's customizing something. Sometimes
exactly.
it's building custom
Correct.
software. Makes
Correct.
sense.
Yeah.
I did some work like that. I worked for a
Okay.
firm that was doing some of that, but more in the commercial world.
Sure.
So I get it.
And we do things in, kind of the program management area too. So sometimes we're working, with them to help manage, something that may not even be an IT solution, but maybe it's an important business process.
Okay.
So really just bringing our expertise and understanding the mission. And, we're a services company, so it's all about the people and their skills they bring and how we're able to, really be a trusted partner and help them get, whatever they're trying to achieve.
So we talked about this over coffee, but
Sure.
I forget what you told me. When you started the firm 15 years ago, did it start out as you as a consultant being billable? Like, was that how you started it?
It was me, and I wasn't even billable really. I mean,
Okay.
I was just me at my kitchen table.
Okay.
And said, hey, I have what I believe is something to add to companies.
Okay.
And I started off just working with other businesses saying, hey, I know you're trying to work in the government or defense sector. You know, I can bring some subject matter expertise, you know, whether it's on capture, bid and proposal.
Okay.
You know, and of course my background in cybersecurity, you know, so
Okay.
my first contract was a security assessment, right?
Was it?
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
So yeah, so I was doing some of the work, and you know, but I was really, you know, jack of all trades.
Yeah, you had some subs then that you
yes,
were also working
exactly,
with and
exactly.
pulling in. Yeah, that's interesting. I find that first transaction, that first dollar, to be the scariest, most intimidating. And whenever I run into like would-be founders or
Sure.
somebody who's got, whether they've got a great barbecue recipe or they've got some innovative tech disruptor, I'm always asking, like, how are you going to earn your first dollar?
Well, you know what? For me, it wasn't the first; it's that second dollar.
Really? Okay.
Right, because you think like, okay, I've got a contract, I got a customer, but you're going, is this sustainable? You know, it's the
What
question
happens
of
when this is done?
Okay, this one is done. Now, am I able to actually consistently, you know, either find other customers,
Yeah.
you know, to basically support yourself, you know, to
Yeah.
support your family. And then when you hire that first employee, you know, I always say what keeps me on
You're on the
now,
wheel.
I got to support their family. You
Yeah.
know, it's not just me anymore. So,
Yeah.
you know, just that whole thing. And I mean, even to this day, I mean, every decision, you know, I said you make as a owner or a founder, there are a lot of people that are depending on you.
Yeah.
You know, they're depending on you to make good decisions because it affects their livelihood. So that's, you know, inspirational because you know why you're doing it, you know, that whole why component, but it's also a little scary at times, you know. So those are the things that keep you up at night, you know, going over your decisions or just making sure you've considered, you know, all the possible variables and, you know, have done your due diligence. You know, I just always want to say I gave my best. And if I've always been a person, you know, I can live with the result.
You know what I just realized? I think you just helped me diagnose my sleeping problem.
Oh, is that what you're doing, thinking about it?
Man,
That'll
did you
do
hit,
it.
you
That'll
hit a
do
nerve,
it.
Jackie. So, yeah, it is the burden and response. So I just hired my first couple of folks. And it does come with a different level of like, it's an absolute responsibility.
Yeah,
Right? 'Cause
you know, I can adjust and eat ramen noodles for a few weeks or
Right.
some ravioli. You know, I mean,
That's right.
I can make the things the sacrifices, but you've already negotiated something, and they have an expectation that you're able to deliver.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
You want to hear
gotta make
something
it
really
happen.
sweet? My wife, not long ago, a couple months back, maybe a year ago or something, said, you know what, if business isn't good and you want to sell the house and downsize and
wow.
whatever else, it doesn't matter. Just, I want you to be happy. And I was
That's
like,
beautiful.
Isn't that great?
It is great.
But I don't, no matter what, like you said, you can
Yeah.
eat ramen noodle, right? That's great.
Like, we're not doing
But I got a
that.
team, right?
Right.
I do. I mean, and those things are a quota of
Yeah.
sorts, the way you want to live or the
Yeah,
things you
yeah.
want to, the work you want to, how you want to impact your customers, that kind of thing. But having a team, it's like, oh, there's no turning back.
No,
There's
no.
that'll cost a lot of people a lot of pain. So
Absolutely,
that is
absolutely.
it's an important burden
I mean,
to feel, and I feel a high level of responsibility about
Right.
that.
And one of my, you know, first employees, you know, I think he was employee number 2. I mean, I'm sitting down with him and his wife because I'm this startup, right? And
Yeah.
they're looking at him going, now, who are you going to work for? Or what are you doing?
That's right.
And, you know, so, yeah, you're going to have benefits. You're gonna, I mean, and that was important to me, you know,
Yeah.
that my first employee, they had a full benefit plan, you know, medical, dental, vision. Because
We just
I
went
wanted
through
them
that
to
in my
feel-
firm. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want them to feel taken care of, you know? So, you know, I'm meeting at a Bob Evans, you know,
Yeah.
with him and his wife, and we're just sitting there, and I'm making my case of, you know,
Yeah.
hey, and it's nice to say that employee still works for me to this day.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
15-year vet, huh?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So we were just joking because he had a young daughter at the time who just graduated from high school, and I'm like, I look at her picture, and I'm like, oh, I remember when you were just a little bitty something. I mean, but
Congratulations on that.
yeah.
That's really cool.
No, it's good. It's good.
You know, those early decisions, because I've just went through a few that in
Sure.
the last year or so that feel similar to that story you just shared, they're really making, it's not about your logo or your customer or whatever. It's you. They're really betting on you, the founder.
Absolutely.
Like, can you get the next customer, and can you make the right decision about your brand or offering or whatever? I take that as like, it's not a marriage, but it's something serious. Absolutely. It's a serious commitment when somebody's trusting you, and it is flattering.
It is.
And terrifying.
Oh, because the first few is because you need key and you need good people, right?
Yeah.
You can't, because you're trying to build a business, and they could work anywhere.
That's right.
They bring something that's like, oh, it's not like you're doing them a favor. I mean,
that's right.
And I always say loyalty is a two-way street, right?
That's
so
true.
that's always my thing of, I of course want you to be loyal to JYG and to me, but I also have to demonstrate that same loyalty to you. And, that has worked for me. That says, hey, we were in this together. And I mean, it sounds, people are like, oh, that's corny and family. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but I take that seriously.
What's the most important thing you've learned about employing people and being the most, at the end of the day, the person who's most responsible for making their livelihood secure? Honesty.
The good and the bad.
Not fake it till you make it.
No, right? Because they are there, and it was hard for me to accept this because I wanted to say no, it's just the company, but you hit on it. Oh no, it's about you. I trust you. I trust you to make good decisions and to look out for me, and so. I'm not going to blame all these other people when the buck stops with you. Yeah. And so with that, it was like, you're right. And so I have to make sure, that I'm worthy of that trust. Yeah. So I don't want to disappoint anyone. Sometimes, you don't always have a good answer. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you expect it to go. But just being able to say, you know what, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what it is and allow you to make an informed decision. And I thought, it sounded like, oh, but it's proven to be true. I just went through having one-on-ones with employees in my company. And the feedback I received,
everybody in your company?
Yeah.
You got a lot of employees.
I know.
How long did that take you?
Probably about 4 months. So
okay,
I think I have about 10 people I missed because they were either out or but
you're almost there.
Yeah. No, and it's the reason was when I started JYG, I said I want to know my employees, I want to know my partners, and I want to know my customers. I just didn't want anyone to feel like a number. Because I tend to think it's easy to make bad decisions, right?
True.
So just to say, I just got to know who I'm working with, and it takes a lot of energy, but it's worth it. And so with the COVID and the pandemic and hybrid work and remote work, I felt out of touch. And I'm like, I haven't traveled as much. I haven't been in front of as many people. I just need to level set. Right. I want to make sure I'm not thinking one thing and we're off track.
What was the biggest surprise through that 4 months of meeting all your team?
I was at a point where I was starting to wonder, like, do the little things, do they really matter? Is anyone paying attention? Because hey, everybody knows what they call it a Jackieism. It's inspect what you expect.
Okay. I mean, I like it.
I have high standards. And so I'm about the details. Yeah. I want everybody to be about the details and what they're doing because in my things, details matter. True. So, when we're looking at things, I don't know, something as simple as having a holiday party. A lot of people are like, why are you spending money on those things? Yeah. And I'm like, but to hear people that they really noticed the extra mile and it wasn't, this isn't me, this is my people doing, whether it's HR or accounting, just going the extra mile for people that they did notice, even though they may not say anything because those people are like, oh, nobody notices that, and they're like, no, I appreciate that. That's what makes you guys different. I mean, I wish I had $1, and I don't think I've told anybody this, but I
Let's
guess
hear it.
All right.
Breaking news. We're hearing
the
it here
number of
first.
people who told me this is the best company I've ever worked for.
Oh man.
It was like what? And they've worked for no, I've worked for several. This is the best organization I have ever worked for. that meant something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
That's 15 years well spent.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, what a warm experience that is.
yeah. And so to be able
You
to
didn't
come
go
back,
out shopping for that either.
I know. I really had, just a couple questions.
Bringing a tear to my eye.
So, oh, thank you.
But I mean, that's a big deal.
it is
You
a
put your
big
heart and soul
deal.
into it, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good
so
for you.
it's like, hey, let's keep doing this, and
Yeah.
it's about relationships. That's why we're here today.
I think about when people spend so much time with a single employer. It's a lot like a marriage. When you see somebody celebrating their 20th anniversary, you know that after 20 years, there's no way that they didn't get through problems.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There was something difficult.
Absolutely.
They had big losses, or they had big conflict, or
Right.
they had big decisions or setbacks in their life, or whatever that they had to get through to get there. Nobody gets through 20 years of bliss
Right.
unscarred.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
40 years, 50
Yeah.
years, So when you see people celebrating these decades-long milestones being married, you know that there were times when they made a decision to be together.
That's right.
And it wasn't just like a passive, like, oh, it's another Tuesday
Right.
for 20, 30, 40 years. That's not how that works. And the same is true for employees, particularly today.
Oh my gosh.
When somebody stays with one employer for 10 years, they've made that decision several times.
Right.
Somebody has come knocking. Like if you don't can them
Right.
in 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
they're doing something great, right?
Yeah.
They're doing something meaningful, impact. They've proven there's exceptions. People
Sure.
can hide.
But you know what? And in my business, I mean, retention is tough because, a lot of our work is contract based, right? That
Okay.
we're competing, through a request for proposal process. That contract has a certain a period of performance. And after that, if you're great, sometimes we can compete for the recompete.
Okay.
Sometimes there is no recompete. The work is done.
Okay.
And so then you either have to find new work
Yeah.
or figure out a way to hang on to these great employees. So,
Yeah, that's tough.
for them to stick around or to reinvent themselves or go to something different. I mean, there's a lot involved, on our side and on their side. So they have choices.
Have you ever had to let people go because of losing work?
Absolutely.
Have you? That's
Absolutely.
tough.
Oh, it's terrible. Is what
Yeah.
it is. It's terrible because it's easy if somebody did something wrong.
That's right. That's right.
Hey,
You're
you
making
just-
the prudent
yeah,
decision or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
But you
when
lose work from a customer
when you
that's
say
got to
you
go.
did everything right, but there is no budget.
Yeah.
They've cut the budget for this.
That's the worst.
So my thing is just try to give people is when I know, I want them to know. I can tell you that's probably something that we do differently than some others in our industry, because there's the chance if I know my job is ending October 1st, I'm looking. And my
Yeah.
thing is I expect you to look, but guess what? I might be gone before October 1st.
Yeah.
And then that leaves
That's
us
risky.
to get the work done, to explain to the customer. But you know what? That's a risk I'm willing to take. And that's a responsibility that I own, because they have a right to take care of their families.
That's right. It feels
And-
like the right thing to do for
it
people
does. It does.
who've been there with you
Yeah.
through a
yeah.
challenging time. So, can I change the subject a
Sure,
little bit?
absolutely.
I'm curious as you're talking. You seem grounded,
Okay.
and you seem like a person who makes decisions based on important virtues.
Okay.
Am I wrong about that?
Some. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a little type A too. So
Are you? Just a
yeah.
go.
Yeah. So I like data.
Okay.
So I always try to have, but it's both. But there's a balance there. There's the logical. This just makes good sense. But then there's also, like you said, that emotional
principled
principle
drive.
side that says, wait a minute, we've got to make sure it's the right thing. The right thing to do.
When you think about the most difficult decisions you've had to make, and as a founder,
Sure.
as a leader, what was your process for making those? If maybe you think about the 3 or 4 most difficult decisions, and you narrow that down to the 2 or 3, maybe the one most difficult decision you've had to make is, hey, we're going to chase this new customer type, we're going to make these hires, or we're going to launch this product, or we're going to make this cut to the team, or whatever.
Sure.
The most difficult decision you've had to make. What's your process for making a decision? You just finger
Right.
in the wind, how do I feel? Or
No,
you
I
poll
mean,
the audience? Like, how do you go
I'm
about
a
it?
no man is an island believer. You're right. So, even if you look at some of the people who've been with me a while, you know, that have known me a while, I always tell them, you know, then the joke is, hey, you come hit me in the head if you see me changing or if you see something off. I mean, for that grounded thing, because, you know, it can get away from you. You get in there and you think you've succeeded or you've accomplished something. And it's like, if you see me changing, I want you to call me on it.
Yeah.
You know, so keeping, you know, people around you that care about you. I mean, that's one of the things that helps. I'm a person of faith. So I definitely, you know, I have that, like, I hope a moral compass that helps me make a decision. And I'm a helper. I'm always thinking about the impact of someone else. So, you know, you try not to make a selfish decision, right? So there have been many decisions where you said, okay, that might hurt me a little bit, but I'll make it. Yeah. I'll figure it out.
That's right.
But I don't know if they will.
Have you ever had to make a big bet on yourself and just risk it, knowing that you're good for it?
Yeah, I started a company.
Yeah,
right. I started a company.
I've been in those situations a few times in the last few years.
In the midst of, you know, you think about it, I made this decision at the end of 2009.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things going on in the world.
That's right. We had just come out of a big recession, or kind of on the tail
yes,
end of it still.
Yes. And, you know, I didn't have this master plan or this cushy job waiting. I just knew it was time for me. I knew it was time, and it was the best decision for me at that time. But I think, you know, it sounds risky, but I think there is a belief that I'll end up where I'm supposed to be. You know, that's what gave me, I think, the confidence and also just the peace that said, I feel like this is what I need to do. I'm going to give my all to it. But if it doesn't work out, that means I'm supposed to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, and I really always felt that way. That says, okay, you know. So I always thank my mom and dad, you know, for raising a daughter that, you know, was raised to believe in yourself.
Were they business people, or
no,
what kind of influence did they give you?
My father's a veteran.
Okay.
Retired Air Force, and my mom worked in food service.
Okay, nice.
So I mean, my dad used to tell me, your best has never failed you yet.
Your best has never failed you yet?
Your best has never failed you yet.
You doing your best has never not been enough.
Exactly.
Oh, what great wisdom. Your best has never failed you yet. Yeah, I like
just
that.
Heard that as long as I can remember. So I mean, so that was the thing. Okay, did I do my best? I did. Okay, then you can live with that result.
Yeah, true. Well, it's serving you well. I mean, you got a lot of people trusting in you and believing in you. All of your customers, all of your team, or whatever, and all of their families, probably thousands of people, right? So there's truth to that. I don't want to be too easy on you. This has all been rosy.
Here it comes.
Right?
Here it comes.
What's when you think about the challenges you've run into, what's the worst situation you've ever been in as a founder? It might be you personally, you know, your personal life. It might be a business circumstance. It might be something to do with the team. What's the most difficult situation you've had to work through as a founder and a leader of a small business?
You know,
or even as it got bigger.
Yeah, that is tough. And you know why it's tough for me, and this is, you know, it helps me, but I try to have I'm one of those people try to have a short memory. So
I'm not going to drag you there. You're not going there.
I mean, it's just hard for me to really. I mean, obviously I've been in some tough situations, but I really am. Do what you can, move forward.
Okay.
And so, you know, so when I try to go back and I'm like, okay, I know that was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean,
your story's not a sob story.
It would be probably, but I mean, again, and I think some of that is culturally. You know, I was born in the Deep South. My mother was raised in the Deep South.
Okay.
So you know, you don't have time to cry over spilled milk.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. You know, you can hurt. You can feel bad. But it's like, take that moment, you know, if you have to cry, cry. If you have to, you know, scream. But now what? You know, how are you going to move forward? And so, that's what I've always tried to do. I won't say the name, I guess, but my banker, when I first started, I actually, early on working with the government, there was and people have heard probably continuing resolutions where they don't pass a budget.
Okay.
So when that happens, in our industry, usually that means that they don't pay invoices because there's like a freeze on the money.
Yeah.
So early on when I was starting, it's like, oh, okay, hey, I was excited about these first couple employees, but I have payroll and I'm not getting paid.
Oh, man.
And so I had to go to my bank and say, ding, ding, ding. So now I tell people, have a good relationship with your bank, establish a line of credit if you need it. But I didn't have any of that. I was literally a startup. So I said, hey, is there, can I get a line of credit?
Like, I'm good for it.
Yeah.
These guys have promised me money,
Right.
right?
It didn't care.
Oh, yeah.
But what they did is they sent me kind of up the chain to, all the, and I had to it was almost like Shark Tank, right? Because I had to pitch myself. They really interviewed me. Tell me about your business. Tell me about your plan. Tell me, because they wanted to make sure, do you really know what you're doing? Do you really have, an idea? And, it went well enough. The guy said, okay, we're towards the end of the year. Yeah. Get your taxes stuff done. Come see me. I'm going to take care of you. And, it resulted in my, at the time I laughed now, a $50,000 line of credit. I was like, woohoo, right?
It's lifeblood at some point.
It was.
Right? Yeah.
But, it just, that panic at that time, because the one thing, you can never do is ever affect someone's money.
Yeah, that's right.
Payroll, right?
That's right.
Payroll.
No, you'll lose them.
Yeah,
You'll lose them.
yeah. So, it's like the thought of, oh my goodness. And and it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson, about reserves, about, not counting your chickens before they hatch, just really, making sure that you're, a good financial steward. Mm-hmm. And the nice part is, hey, because personally I've been financially responsible and, all those things that the good habits, allowed me to be approved for that and be able to move forward. And I still bank there today. Nice. I always tell them it was my personal bank. I walked in, said I'm starting a business. I got $1,000 to open a business checking account. And what I said I always appreciate about them is they treated me as if I said I'm coming in. I've got $1 million. Really?
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. It was great.
Now you got me thinking about my bank. Do they know who I am?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a relationship. I feel like I have a relationship with my bank, and that means a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
Are those first key hires?
Ooh, okay.
Those first hires, they make or break you. Because what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to have to trust someone else other than myself.
to do important stuff.
It's important stuff. You're not hiring people for window dressing in the beginning because you can't afford to, right? That's $1 that's coming out of the company. So trying to make a decision on the who, the what, the when. And, so of course you think, we're a technology company, so I need someone with strong technology. We're in government contracting where we have projects all over the world. I need someone great in operations. Heck, let's not even talk about the money. So I need someone strong in finance. So those key hires were critical.
What's the most valuable kind of tactic or principle that you've leaned on to make good hiring decisions?
I like to go to a restaurant.
Okay.
I've always had this, and this is me. I think you learn so much about people, about how they engage with the staff at a restaurant. How it's just because there's this kindness, there's this respect.
Well, you're in a services business, So you want to know that people appreciate service and dignify it.
Yeah, you come down, are they demanding? Yes, could you give me or and then get with you and yes, right. I really do care about this. Right. Can I get some water over here?
They're kissing your ass because you're powerful and treating a server like they're nothing.
So I've always paid attention to that, and it's always been important to me. For me, if I'm on a base, the secretary is no less important than the 3-star on the base. Right. That's the way I look at it. And even in our company, I have a role, a function as CEO. That's the difference. Other than that, I'm a human being. I'm Jackie, just like you are. You have a role or function in the company. So it's not this sense of more important, less important. We all have a role to play. So I like that, taking them out somewhere and just seeing how they interact.
That's a great filter, because there's very few things I would employ somebody to do if they're not dignifying and respectful to other people. And I can't imagine in the business that I'm in what those few things are.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe it's, penetrating and attacking an enemy base or something. I don't need you to be polite, whatever, right? Like, I don't know what those things are in the business world, right? Like, if you can't interact with people in a dignifying, respectful, grateful way, then it's hard to imagine whether you're doing accounting, whether you're doing sales or writing software.
Right.
I follow this guy on LinkedIn. I've chatted with him a couple times, and he's a craftsman when it comes to like high level and kind of best practices in software development. Very principled, very ideal. He's very firm about his ideals when it comes to the best practices in software development. So I take a lot of interest in him for that reason, because I worked in that industry for a long time. And so he's an indication to me of like the things. I don't necessarily think that his opinions are all right, but I know he's generally talking about all the things that matter most.
Sure.
I often hear him saying things about how employers and recruiters and managers or whatever pay too much attention to all these soft skills and whatever else. And they don't pay enough attention to the difference between a good and a great engineer or developer.
Right.
And I think he's onto something. There are actual hard skills that matter.
Absolutely.
LinkedIn and all these social media, they like to, hearts and clouds, lovey-dovey everything. And they forget sometimes the real productive engine that makes the world work is good engineering, good software, good business decisions, that kind of thing. So I think there's something to be said for that. And it sucks to work with people who are mean. Right?
Well, you know what? Well, here's
like both of those things matter. Don't
well,
they?
here's what I found early in my career. I used to, be over a group that was about our tech professionals, kind of our up and comers. And we were doing, professional development for them, but focused in the technical realm. And because we really wanted to encourage them that they had a pathway, to progress in their careers. And it's not necessarily management, right? You're a good technician. You may never want to be. You don't want to manage people.
People's a different skill,
right? Yeah. But one of the things I can remember talking to them about is, but guess what? If you really want to develop this great solution, you're going to have to be able to talk to them.
Yeah,
You're going to have to be able to communicate and listen. And, so there's some skills. I mean, I'd love if I could just put you in the basement over here or in a corner in your cube and you never had to, but you're counting on someone else then to make sure they understood the requirement and they have communicated to you properly what the user or customer really wants. Wouldn't it be nice if you knew and heard it for yourself? Well, then you have to be in a position to be in the room to have the conversation. So again, you don't have to, be a schmoozer, but just have enough of those soft skills. And so in our business, sometimes the requirements are a little fuzzy. You can't put everything you want sometimes in a document, right? There are nuances.
There are things that you kind of almost know, but you're not quite clear on yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So, if you're that engineer, you may discover something that you need to communicate to say, hey, I know you said you wanted this. However, this is something we might need to do differently. Or you may be hearing going, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think that's really what you need or what you really want.
Have you considered XYZ?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act, but I mean, the people have to be able to deliver. So, I mean, it's great.
That's right. It is a balancing act.
Yeah. It's like, I would love just to say, I mean, there have been a lot of great people that just didn't have what was needed for a particular, opportunity.
I think the idea or the ideal that the best engineers would just make all the decisions and the best products would be made if everybody would defer to them. That's great. But the reality is people don't. People subvert them and people contend with them and people misunderstand them and everything else. And if you're the brightest engineer, the most, the most forward, advanced, builder of things, and other people don't understand you. They're irritated, so they contend with you even when you're not, even when they kind of in the back of their head know you're right.
Right.
Or when people think they're right, but you can't compel them.
Right.
Because you're not disarming and you're not educating in your interaction with people. Then all of your brilliance goes to waste.
Exactly.
And so being able to leverage your brilliance is important. I've always referenced this kind of ratio, the competence to kindness ratio that I find valuable.
Okay.
When it comes to building technical teams on both sides of kind of the engineering team. One being kind of the business people, the sales people, the recruiters, the managers, whatever. They always are a little heavy biased towards kindness.
Right.
They're flatterers.
Right.
They're bullshitters. They kind of halfway know what they're talking about and try to bluff their way through stuff or whatever. And they get away with it because maybe they're kind, they're good looking, they're compelling, energizing personalities or whatever. And I always feel like that needs to be balanced in their own individual as a person with some competence. Like, I remember when I first started in the recruiting world way back when, for working for this, machine of a recruiting company. They said, "Oh, you don't need to understand technology." I'm like, look, my job is to hire software developers.
Right.
My job is to find, filter, and recommend the best software developers to my clients.
Right.
And you're telling me I don't need to understand the technology? I just thought it was the craziest thing in the world.
Yes.
And I sought out, ways to learn and understand and better educate myself on how to understand what they're talking about and get better at that. Right. It was insane. It still is insane to me that you would suggest that that's not an important part of your job.
Exactly. No.
You might be more on the kindness than the competence scale in the team, but like, you should still have your own balance there.
Right.
You should still invest in both.
Absolutely.
Right? But the same is true in the competence. The best and brightest engineers, rough, gruff. I mean, if you can't make it make sense to the guy who's almost as good as you, well, that guy probably understands you. That guy probably, or gal, probably knows to defer to you. But the one who's maybe 2 levels of intelligence below you, like, will they even know that they're not as smart as you?
Yes.
You have to have a little bit of kindness and communication skill in order for them to understand, well, here's the thing we should be thinking about.
Right.
So I've always found the best engineers to be somebody who's high on that. Like, I can't quite tell how much smarter they are than me, but I can tell.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Hey,
they're some level higher than me.
most of the people that work for me are smarter than me.
Right. I can tell they're somewhere on the spectrum higher than me.
Yes.
And then they're very patient.
Yes.
And they're very kind. And those people are gold. Whether they're 10% or 50% smarter than me, I don't know.
You just described our CTO for our company.
Really?
Who was my first hire.
Man.
And that is him. I mean, he is brilliant, but has the patience of a saint. I mean, sometimes I don't even know how you do it, because I know you probably knew the answer 30 minutes before this person as they're walking through step by
You're
step.
just waiting and listening to me talk all this nonsense.
He's just as kind and okay, yeah. All right. And I'm like, that is such a skill. Just one of those people could be anywhere and said what you said. I'm like, why did you even? He said, I had zero doubt that you would be successful.
I think sometimes about people who are high on the IQ spectrum, right? Very intelligent engineers, but still in a functional level. You're not so intelligent that it's hard to interact and whatever. But and I feel like, if I go out to the street and my son's playing with the neighbor kids and then the other kid from around the corner comes and let's say there's 8 kids out there playing around, goofing around, they're all interacting, and I'm that guy out there, right? And how I would interact with them. Yeah. Right? In order for them to have the best experience, it would require a lot of patience. It would be work for me. Right? It's work for me. Yeah. To be the full-time, all-time QB on their little pickup street game, right? It's work for me. Or they got some little, I'm coaching soccer right now. So you'll have these 2 kids, they'll have their little tiff, and I'll try to get them inspired to work together. Right. But it's work for me. Right. And I'm some level higher than them in terms of whatever. I don't know if it's IQ or whatever it is. But knowing what they need to be thinking about. And, I think about those poor folks that are high on the, high levels of intelligence, really kind of into their craft and kind of experts in what they do. having to deal with us folks, us average
Yes,
minded
right,
business
right,
folks,
right.
and be patient all the time and interact with us like the kids who are really going to make it happen.
Right.
Right. We're
Oh, absolutely.
But we need some of that expertise. We need some of that patient caring. You just bark at them and the game gets disrupted and they go away. It's not fun anymore or whatever. Right. So anyway, finding those folks who are like that good soccer coach who gets those kids inspired to play together. That is something that does matter. And I do think, you have to have that from the brightest minds, particularly when you deal in the engineering technology world.
Yeah, they've got to feel they're in a place where they can, like I said, be their best, and you got to figure out a way to put them in a position to be their best, to create the environment for them to be their best. And, one of the best pieces of advice, my former boss gave me is treat people fairly, not equally. And I remember sitting there and I kind of saw, like, what? What do you mean? Everybody is motivated differently. Everybody's unique. So that one thing you thought, well, this should work. This worked with Aaron.
Yeah.
just try to be fair, right? Be fair, but you don't have to be equal. And it really, and so, that's what we try to do. So heck, if I said, hey, I'm going to give you, I got some Bengals tickets. You want to go? And you're like, no, I don't even like football.
Yeah.
Right. And you're thinking, oh, this is a great gift. I don't understand it, but, I say, hey, you want a day off to go hang with the family? Oh, hey, that's great. So, just keeping that in mind. And so your whole thing is about, hey, everybody's unique. And that's what is hard sometimes. But if you can kind of figure it out and get, that key to that person, you unlock so much that you didn't even know was there, right? Because you finally, found the thing that allowed them to be their best. And it's the challenge, but that's what makes it interesting. I know you said after the pandemic, but I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. That's my, it's my natural thing. One of my favorite stories is I'm in Kroger's one day and, again, I see somebody like, oh, somebody know. I walk up, hey, how you doing, hug? And then I realize it's one of my customers from the base who I don't know that well.
Right.
I don't know.
You're just so, you see them, you're excited to see them.
And because I had never seen them, not
outside
in unprofessional attire. I just thought, it's somebody I know.
Yeah.
And, and the awkwardness was like, oh, when I realized who it was, it's like, I know they think I'm just a flake, right? It broke some ice, we ended up becoming friends. But I think, there's some people you meet, so when I did my one-on-ones, I'm going to circle back. There was a gentleman we first met. He's worked for me probably 4 or 5 years now. And he was he couldn't get his hand out fast enough, right? Because he saw me with everybody else. And I'm like, oh. So I see him. And so I'm all ready for it. And he hugs me.
Oh.
And I'm like.
You're trying to speak his language. He's trying to speak yours.
And I'm like, I want him over.
Yeah.
I was just so thrilled with that. Because
or maybe that was terrifying to him and he was trying to accommodate you.
And I even said, oh, I didn't know. He said, oh, no, we're good.
Okay. That's awesome.
Like, yeah. So it's just like, hey, I think that just trying to be who you are, whoever that is, that's all I can be. I can only be me. So that authenticity of saying, hey, it's just from the heart. It's not a show. It's not a game. It's, it's not maneuvering. It's and the consistency, because people, they'll watch, right? Are you consistent? Are you always say hello, or you always say hello when you thought it was advantageous to you, or I think that's just the key.
Faking it's risky.
Oh, it is.
The likelihood that you're going to do the same thing next time is low, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, last couple things I want to get into.
Sure.
I got maybe a couple more questions for you. One, we talked a little bit about one practice that's helped you when it comes to hiring and looking out for some problems.
Sure.
What's the thing you've learned not to do, or the worst experience you had with as far as hiring tactics and decisions you've made about hiring folks?
Making sure I involve other people. So, I used to think like, I know what I want. I know what we're looking for. And even when I think I know, I ask someone else's opinion. I made that mistake before. And it's like, they're like, yeah, I kind of knew.
Oh,
like,
no.
Did you know? And they're like, well, but hey, you're the boss, just figure. And I'm like, oh, don't do that.
Man,
don't do
I'm
that.
not that much of a boss.
Yeah. So it's just like always getting somebody else's opinion, sometimes, delegating, hey, you talk to them first.
Yeah.
You go ahead and interview them or meet with them, because you just want to have a broader view and just be honest.
True.
You're not as smart as sometimes you think you are.
I worked for a founder before who had a habit of just dropping people into teams, and he'd make a great connection. And he was a pretty good judge.
Yeah.
He wasn't 100%. He made some bad ones, but he was mostly good.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. It was still very negative.
Sure.
It had a very negative impact because I think people were like, oh, like you made a big decision about how I'm going to spend the biggest part of my day for the next decade of my life.
Right.
And you didn't care to consult me. So it was the buy-in and the respect and the dignifying interaction with those, those core couple of people that new hire is going to interact with. I think is also a missed opportunity. It's about creating a momentum there as opposed to creating a contention and an insecurity.
Correct.
I think that's as important, close to as important as the idea of missing a bad decision.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good one. Well, last thing I wanted to hit with you was, when you think about the next couple of years in your firm, what are maybe the biggest thing or the biggest couple of things that are important for you to accomplish that you're trying to accomplish? This is a 3-part question. What's your most important goal, or what are you trying to get to in the next couple of years or so, next year or two? What's going to get in your way? And then what are you going to do about it?
My hope with JYG is building a legacy, building a legacy that I can pass on, that it will continue in some fashion, whether it evolves into something else. So mentoring is very important to me, partnership. So I'm a pay it forward person. So what's important to me is to leave some type of a legacy where I've just helped someone learn from my mistakes. So I work with other small businesses in our industry. My thing is I don't want to take anything with me. I don't want this, I've got this secret of something that worked and, I'm the only one that benefited from it. That doesn't get me anything. My hope is, 10 years from now, I said 10 years, right? 10 years from now, I would love to be able to sit back and say, man, I think I might have contributed to their success.
Yeah.
I think I might have helped them get to where they wanted to go.
Your resume is a list of people instead of bullet points of stuff you did.
Yeah. I mean, that is the goal. That is the goal. Yeah. And then, with that, it's my people. It's them and their families. I want people to be able to, retire. I want people to be able to say, hey, you helped me get my kid through college. All of those things, those are the things that I hang on to, that mean the most. It's not what my revenue was in 2022. Yeah. It's not
how many butts do I have in seats.
It doesn't. That doesn't matter at all. It really doesn't.
It's an interesting answer. I like that. Well, what's going to get in the way, and what are you going to do about it?
What's going to get in the way is losing focus. Keeping the main thing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. There's a lot of stuff that kind of.
Yeah, when money jingles, it's loud.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. So making those tough decisions that that may divert me from that goal. So that's what gets in the way. How am I going to avoid it? It's what I talked about earlier. Keeping a community of people that I can bounce ideas off, that aren't afraid to correct me, aren't afraid to offer their opinions and advice. My team, we've had some like let's say boisterous conversations. Okay. And I can remember in the office that some people were like, "Are they okay?" Because we'll have this a little conversation. They go like, "Hey, you ready for lunch?" And they're like, "Oh, they're okay."
Hey, mom and dad are still in love.
Exactly. And so, and I love that because it's like, hey, I'm a believer that where two or more agree, one is unnecessary. I want that pushback. And I'm not easy to push back because I get dug in. But it's okay. I really do appreciate it. And so sometimes I have to remind people, no, I really do appreciate it. I know I'm feel like, oh, she's just stubborn or, oh, she's not listening. I am listening. And I'm the comeback later. That's my personality. I'm like, Aaron, I was thinking about our conversation yesterday. And, I think you were right. I think we need to relook at that. and you're like, really? Like, yeah, you seem to be so, no, I mean, cause I really do process, it's kind of like running over in my mind. So keeping those kind of people and being able, and this is the hardest part, sharing that's my goal, right? Because I keep it all in, and so they go, I didn't know, I didn't know you wanted to do that. I didn't know you were trying to.
If it's all to yourself.
That's right. That's right. So letting people know and being a little vulnerable, right? Doing a podcast, putting it out there that says, hey, this is what I'm hoping to do, because now it's out there. People know.
True.
So they're like, okay, I thought that's what you were going to do, Jackie. And I'm
that's
like,
right.
So and this is somewhat intentional because it holds me accountable.
I love that. Well, thank you for being on the show and sharing your heart.
Oh, thank you.
Putting it out there, not just for your team, but for the world to appreciate that.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you for making it easy.
Likewise. Thanks for coming on.